Did Trump just lose himself the election? We're going to talk about that today here on Speechless. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Speechless. I'm your host, Phares, 23-year-old conservative activist, host of Speechless, which is not only a radio show, but it's right here wherever you're watching from, likely YouTube. And if you are watching this, don't forget to like this video, that thumbs up right down there, comment what you think, share this with your friends, but most importantly, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. But let's get on into this story. Earlier this week, Donald Trump clarified his stance on abortion being kind of a hot topic, considering the fact that many people claim that 2022 was lost because of the issue of abortion by Republicans. So we're going to talk about exactly what Trump said and did it lose him the election? Why don't we just, in about a 4 to 5 minute video that he posts to Truth Social, this is essentially what he said. Here's a clip.
Many people have asked me what my position is on abortion and abortion rights, especially since I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and, in fact, demanded be ended. Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended. It must be remembered that the Democrats are the radical ones on this position because they support abortion up to and even beyond the 9th month. The concept of having an abortion in the later months and even execution after birth, and that's exactly what it is. The baby is born, the baby is executed after birth, is unacceptable, and almost everyone agrees with that. My view is now that we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, the states will determine by vote or legislation or perhaps both, and whatever they decide must be the law of the land. In this case, the law of the state. Many states will be different. Many will have a different number of weeks, or some will have more conservative than others, and that's what they will be. At the end of the day, this is all about the will of the people. You must follow your heart, or in many cases, your religion or your faith. Do what's right for your family and do what's right for yourself. Do what's right for your children. Do what's right for our country and vote. So important to vote. At the end of the day, it's all about will of the people. That's where we are right now, and that's what we want, the will of the people.
And so here's really the thing about this whole stance. Has a lot of different reactions from a lot of different people. Mine, personally, I told you so, and we're going to discuss that. But the three main reactions, the three main perspectives that we see on this are the conservative perspective, the strategic perspective, and the loony liberal perspective. They're so loony. They're going loony. They're going crazy. The craziest, and we're going to talk about each and every one of those. The first one is the conservative perspective. The conservative perspective, to put it lightly, is that this is a disappointing statement from Donald Trump. This is a disappointing statement. Take a look right here at what Alex Clark had to say via X, formerly Twitter, in which he said these Trump comments on abortion suck. That's the realest, most simple way to put it. It completely sucks. There isn't going to be a single pro-life candidate we can vote for in this election. That's not totally true in the fact that one of your state or local candidates, or even your congressional, something like that, your Senate, could be pro-life. But in terms of the presidential option, she's right. There isn't a single ardently pro-life candidate. There's not going to be. And there was a lot of other people that were much more unhappy with Trump, one being Jenna Ellis, if you look at this, who has kind of made a career now of being just contrarian to Trump nowadays. But this is what Jenna Ellis had to say. She said, so weak, Trump punts on the issue of pro-life and pledges to support whatever states decide, including blue states that will allow abortion until the moment of birth, like my home state of Illinois. Follow your heart is the hallmark card, not strong conservative principled policy. Okay. She's right to an extent in saying that it's not conservative. But this is the thing. When I said just a moment ago, I told you so, go back to my previous videos in which I was discussing why I supported DeSantis over Trump. Trump was not the most conservative candidate in this race. And I think he probably would have told you that. In fact, indirectly, he did multiple times. When he was still being primaried, while weak primary challenge, when he was still being primaried, he said that DeSantis' 6-week abortion ban was too strong. Look, Donald Trump has never used abortion because of a strong conviction he has to being pro-life. In fact, I've even talked on the show before about how he's not even that devout of a Christian, despite the fact that a lot of his support comes from evangelical Christians, those of which are kind of unhappy with him on this stance. But if you've been supporting Trump this whole time and claiming that he was pro-life, you don't get to complain, because I knew he wasn't pro-life. Many people knew he was not pro-life. That doesn't necessarily mean he's 100% pro-choice, but he is not standing ardently on the conviction of being pro-life, not from a biblical perspective, not even from a scientific perspective, and the idea that that life begins at conception. If you wanted a conservative, Trump was not the most conservative candidate in this race. That doesn't mean you shouldn't support him, and that's the point. While Trump the man is not adherently pro-life, he utilizes the pro-life issue as a political prop. He is essentially responsible, as he said, to the end of Roe v. Wade. But that's as far as he'll take it. Why? Because of the strategic perspective. Number two, what I was talking about, the strategic perspective. Flashback to 2022. Remember when we had the red wave that wasn't? Everyone was scrambling for an explanation, and never Trumpers said that it was all Trump's fault. They were just like, rah, 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 rah. It's Trump's fault. Orange man bad. Maybe a little, I don't know. But Trump said that it was abortion's fault. And I honestly thought it was somewhere in between. I think some of the candidates were because Trump endorsed bad candidates. Others were because people were mobilized to vote for abortion. But what I think doesn't really matter. If Trump thinks it's all about abortion's fault, that it's all about abortion, that that's the reason why his candidates lost, then strategically, he has to back off on that position. And if we flash back to 2020, the only group that Trump lost votes on in that election compared to 2016 was suburban women. Who is mobilized most by the issue of abortion? It's suburban women. And they're mobilized against conservatives. So strategically, if you want to get elected, you should moderate your stance on the area of which you lost. The strategy is simple and plain to see. But the thing is that the left won't let you moderate your stance. They won't. Because like Trump said, they will continue to push you further, or push themselves further, to where no matter what stance you take, if you are not for abortion at all times, you are responsible for depriving people of the right to kill a child. And so that's where we get to the third perspective on this issue. The loony liberal. And that's where I want to point your attention to my senator. Unfortunately, I didn't vote for her. Don't blame me. Tammy Duckworth. If you take a look at this just on Wednesday, April 10th, this is an interview she did on MSNBC in which she talked about this new Arizona bill that would heavily restrict abortion. Take a look and a listen to this clip of Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois.
Joining us now, Democratic Senator Tammy Duckworth of Illinois. She is the co-chair of the Biden-Harris 2024 campaign. Senator, it's really great to have you. There's this breaking news out of Arizona, re-upping a Civil War era law that bans all abortions in the state except in the terms of a woman's life being at risk. What's your reaction?
So before we even let her react, I want to point out as to how MSNDNC really messes with the narrative. And this is what a lot of lefties will do. They will use a logical fallacy in which they will associate this law. They say it's Civil War era. They call it Civil War era because what does that evoke in the mind? Civil War makes you think of slavery. It makes you think of a time before women can vote. It makes you think of a time before the modern sophisticate era that we currently live in. However, just because a rule or a law is old doesn't make it bad. That's the logical fallacy they're playing on, based on trying to associate an anti-abortion law with the Civil War and slavery. Now, to be clear, slavery was bad, is bad, and is/was wrong. However, one of the 10 commandments, which was found on the stones, says, "Thou shalt not kill." Not a bad rule, much older than a Civil War era law. So that's the issue. Now, take a look further at the rest of this clip with Tammy Duckworth right here.
This is where we end up because of Donald Trump. He has crowed and he's been boasting and he's been proud about the fact that he put into place the Supreme Court justices to overturn Roe v. Wade. But this is what's happening across the country. You have women sitting in the parking lots of hospital emergency rooms where the doctor says, you need to go and sit there and bleed out a little bit more until your life is truly in danger before we can actually provide you life-saving care. And in Amanda's case, she now is no longer to have children on her own because of laws that have been put into effect thanks to Donald Trump.
I don't actually know of any instance of that to be true, what Tammy Duckworth is claiming. However, once again, this is about an Arizona law in which Donald Trump just came out and said he is for states having the right to choose. And so why do I say it's the loony liberal? It's the loony liberal. This is the loony liberal perspective because, Tammy, you're from Illinois. Illinois allows children at the age of 12 to get an abortion and their parents not to be notified for it. Truly. Look it up. Real law went into effect within the last 2 years. You do not have to have your parents' consent, notification. If you are severely underage, not just like when I say severely underage, you're very, very underage. You're like 12, prepubescent, or at puberty, and have an abortion. You won't get, your parents won't get notified. That Donald Trump would still allow that given his current stance on abortion that he just came out with. Yet Tammy Duckworth will go out there and say that that Arizona's decision is Trump's fault. You can't have it both ways. This is why the liberals are loony. The liberal loony logical fallacy. That's what's happening here. Because, Tammy, if you're going to say that Arizona is Trump's fault, then you also got to say that Illinois is Trump's fault. Because all Roe v. Wade is say that it's up to the states to decide, that states get to decide their abortion laws. And that's what Trump is still saying. But we go back to the original question of this video. Did Trump just lose himself the election? I would say no, because he knows, based on the strategic perspective, that while he might have made the Christians unhappy, they're not going to vote for Joe Biden. Because they'd rather have the guy that's going to leave it up to the states than the guy that wants to allow all states to abort any baby and have it be paid by the taxpayer. So he's not going to really lose votes on it, at least not enough to make a difference. And he might gain some if he can truly get the narrative out there and control it, that the lefties are the extremists on, and the Democrats are the extremists on this issue. But what do you think? Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know in the comments. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment what you think, share it with your friends. And until next time, God bless you, God bless America, and thank you so much for watching Speechless.